Good morning and welcome to Focus. I'm Callie Lutman. Focus is a weekly show dedicated to looking at news and public affairs. Good morning and welcome to Focus. Today we are talking with the League of Women Voters of Champaign County, also known as the League. They're a nonpartisan grassroots organization dedicated to encouraging informed and active participation in our democracy. Whether it's registering voters, educating the public, or advocating for accessible elections, the League is working hard to ensure all voices are heard. With a big spotlight already on the 2028 presidential race, many have not realized that we have a midterm primary coming up March 17th of 2026. Today, we'll learn about what's on the ballot, how to get registered or verify your registration now, and how the League can help. Joining us today is Jane Santogrossi, the president of the League, and Carol Baxter, a dedicated League volunteer with hands-on experience helping people get registered and informed. Welcome to the show, Carol and Jane.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on today and helping us learn more about the League. To begin, Jane, can you tell us, for those who may not be familiar, can you briefly explain what the League of Women Voters does, both nationally and right here in Champaign County?
Well, it may be useful to know that the League was formed in 1920, which is the same year women got the right to vote, won the right to vote after a long campaign. And our mission here in Champaign County is to make democracy work locally. So to that end, we register voters, we educate voters, and we activate voters. We educate them through monthly programs on local issues, through candidate forums, through a candidate guide, through candidate interviews, and we disseminate that information in many ways, including through social media.
Thank you so much. And you mentioned register, educate, activate. Can you go into those each as a practice, what you do?
Well, Carol will speak to registering voters, which is a key focus. We educate them through all these various programs, and then we activate them on Election Day to go to the polls.
Would you mind sharing of some of those a brief overview of some of those programs?
Well, we tend to have monthly programs called Keeping It Local. We've tackled many issues: nursing home shortages, water supply, mis and disinformation, the Electoral College as well, which is not a local issue, but ultimately comes down to that. Climate change. There are many others. By the way, those Keeping It Local programs are on Zoom. You don't have to show up in person. And if you can't even show up for the Zoom, they're taped and available on our website.
Now, a big part, you're nonpartisan. How does the League stay nonpartisan while taking positions on issues or encouraging civic participation?
We have vigorous arguments about that. And we actually have a political activity policy within us about what each of us can do. And as president, I am somewhat constrained about doing anything publicly that is political. But beyond that, we are nonpartisan in that we do not support candidates or parties, but we are political in that we do support certain issues. Much of this comes down from the U.S. League, but I know we'll tackle the SAVE Act later, and anything connected with voting rights is definitely in the League's purview, and we are for anything that expands voting rights and against anything that constrains them.
Understandable. I hear that. And Carol, Jane mentioned that you're going to help us understand voter registration. How can people check their voter registration and get registered right now?
Well, you can register to vote in Illinois if you're a U.S. citizen and are 18 on or before the next general election. Illinois has a specific policy that if you are 17 on or before the primary election and will be 18 on or before the general election, you can register and vote in the primary as well. So the key date for 2026 for the primary coming up will be that a person registering must be born on or before November 3rd, 2008. Other registration musts are that you have to live in your precinct for at least 30 days before the election. You do not claim the right to vote anywhere else. If you're not convicted in a state or federal court and currently serving that sentence. Once you are released, you may vote.
All right. And so what are some resources that we have to check our registration to see our status right now?
Okay. Well, the registration, to be able to register, the first thing you need to do is to make sure that you are registered at your current address. Oftentimes people will move and not be quite sure whether or not they have changed their registration. So to check your status, you go to the county clerk's website, and that website is champaigncountyclerkil.gov. And at the top, there's a choose menu option, and you click on check my voter registration status, which will take you to the My Voting Information portal that has your information listed. So that's the first thing you need to do, because you may well be registered but at the wrong address or the last address, and so you can update that, which I will mention. Other ways that a person could register if you haven't registered is in Illinois there are many opportunities, including at the DMV when you apply for or renew your driver's license. You can, another option would be to download from the clerk's website the paper form, and that's what we use at our events is the paper form. Or you can go to the county clerk's office in person. It takes about 3 minutes to do. It's very simple. Another option you have in terms of registering to vote is online. That's available 24/7 at the Illinois State Board of Elections website. And then to do those, to exercise those options, you'll need your Illinois driver's license or state ID number, the last four of your Social Security number to complete the online registration. It takes about 5 minutes. And one of the things that we do on our website is that we have a video that takes you through the steps to register online. So you'll know what to expect, you'll know the questions to answer, you'll know how to be prepared. So to find that video, you would go to our website, which is lwvchampaigncounty.org/about voting. And then you click on the registration section of the drop-down menu, and you can watch the video and be prepared when you are ready to register. And the last thing that we have in Illinois, which is pretty amazing, I think, is we have same-day registration. So this is an in-person and vote on the same day on Election Day. Locations, days, times will be posted on the clerk's website. And to vote, to register on the same day, you would need to bring your ID and something else with your current address with you to register on Election Day. You can also vote the same day if you do early voting. The same criteria would apply. You would need to bring an ID and something else with your current address, but you could register and vote in early voting same day.
Okay, awesome. So technically there's not a deadline. We do have access to registering day of voting. That's incredible, but you also have resources online to get us prepared, get us registered. Do you have any tips? Do you recommend registering before going to vote? Are there any hang-ups that we can run into?
It just takes longer because you're starting from square one rather than just walking in. And so I would say, if you have to wait, if you have no choice and last minute is what you have, it's going to take a little bit longer, so be prepared.
Good. Just know that going in, it might take a little bit longer, but you can do it. You can get registered that day. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Carol. And I'm curious, our goal today is make sure folks are registered and have the information they need for that 2026 primary. And going into that, is there anything that you would like to share with listeners about what we need to know about that 2026 primary?
Well, it's pretty important because the positions that will be up for the primary, which is on March 17th, 2026, U.S. Senator for Illinois, which is the seat currently held by Senator Durbin, U.S. House of Representatives, Illinois state officials, including the governor, Illinois state senators and representatives, and Champaign County officials and board members as well.
Oh, so this is a big primary. There's a lot for us to keep our eyes on.
Yes, and then the actual general election for those positions is November 3rd, 2026.
All right. Thank you so much. And do you have any resources for those who want to learn more about the primary election?
Well, it's a little early because the candidates haven't been decided. People are still throwing their hats in the ring. So that's really not something that we will have a whole lot of information other than the positions until early in 2026. But those will be in the local newspaper, online. We also have a nonpartisan Champaign County candidate guide, which is maintained by two local nonpartisan organizations. And those are votechampaign.org and LWV Champaign County. That's League of Women Voters. And the website for the candidate guide, when there are candidates, is votechampaign.org/guide.
Perfect. That's a wonderful resource to have whenever we're needing to get that information and look up everybody, understand all of the stances. Perfect. Thank you. And a big thing, and this is one thing that I think a lot of our listeners may relate to, is there's a lot of information. For someone who may feel overwhelmed by information or even misinformation, how does the League help voters get nonpartisan, trusted information on candidates and issues?
Well, we like the candidate guide because it's nonpartisan, because it comes from several different local organizations. We feel that it is something that we can get behind and encourage people who have questions about the local candidates. The person that maintains it for us, sort of how it works, is that he sends out the same 4 or 5 questions to the candidates, and whatever they answer is what gets put on the website.
Okay, perfect.
So if there is no answer, that means that that person did not respond, which I think can give you some information, right?
There you go.
And some people are very verbose and go point by point, and other people you just sort of get a general statement.
Yeah.
But you get information one way or the other.
Mm-hmm. There you go. And that any information is information.
And it's coming from the source.
Perfect. That's very important.
Right.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that. And remind us of that website so that we have that in our back pocket when it's time to look at the candidates.
The candidate guide is, the website is votechampaign, one word, .org, and then /guide.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And Jane, can
Yes.
we talk about the SAVE Act? Can you tell us what it is?
Yes. You can. There are many ways to describe the SAVE Act, but I guess the most straightforward one is that it would require people registering or re-registering to vote, even for a simple local address change, to appear in person at the election authority, in our case the county clerk, and show documents in person that prove their U.S. citizenship. So there are other ways to describe the SAVE Act, which is a wolf in sheep's clothing. Everybody knows that only citizens can vote. Everybody knows that only citizens should vote. That has been the law of the land for decades and decades. The SAVE Act seems to assume that non-citizens are voting in large numbers. That is not the case. Every credible research into that issue has shown that non-citizen voting is vanishingly rare. The Brennan Center for Justice supports this. It is also, you could argue, a poll tax, because let's say, I've voted in Champaign County for 6 years. I voted before that for 50. Let's say I moved down the street and I don't have a passport, for example, and I don't have easy access to the records they want. I have to go get a substitute birth certificate. That costs $15 in Illinois. Could cost other amounts in other states. I would have to get a marriage certificate to show that why my name changed from my maiden name to my married name. Or I could show a passport, but a passport costs $130 minimum and can cost more. The marriage certificate, by the way, costs $15. So now all of a sudden I'm out money and time to go to and effort to go to the clerk's office to show documents, although I have voted for 50 plus years. That is frankly offensive to me. And it is based on an incorrect assumption or assertion, really, and we think could lead to disenfranchisement for tens of millions of people. It's called the Safeguard Voter Eligibility Act, and it's not good for the voter. It passed the House. Now it's in the Senate. Chuck Schumer has said he will filibuster it, which is fine. We don't know what its future is. It could be amended. Everything I'm talking about is the SAVE Act in its current form as it came out of the House of Representatives.
Okay. And is there anything else that listeners should understand or think about in regards to the SAVE Act?
Well, it's not clear how military personnel would accomplish the in-person aspect. It's not clear how disabled people would accomplish the in-person aspect. For married women who have changed their surnames more than one time, they might have to go through the entire history of their birth, marriage, dissolution, marriage. I mean, arguably, it's a nightmare. The other thing is, the clerk isn't ready for this. The clerk's office is not ready to receive people in line with their documents and rule on them. And then just to make their stress levels higher, there would be a cause of action if the clerk did it wrong, even if the person ended up really being a citizen. People could sue because they said, no, those documents were good enough, the clerk said they were. Frankly, I think it's a nightmare.
These are more barriers to voting that could possibly cause more problems.
That's right.
Down the line.
Plus, anybody will tell you, if you go to the clerk's office once with your documents and they say they're insufficient, you might never go again.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah. So it is absolutely a disenfranchisement bill.
Thank you for bringing awareness to our listeners. Is there anything else that you would like to share?
I think if you read between the lines, it's kind of anti-female, and that's concerning, particularly to the League of Women Voters.
It absolutely puts a higher burden on women who have married and changed their name. There's one more thing. The Act is very specific. It says your birth certificate has to list one or more of your parents' names. So years ago, I thought I had lost my birth certificate, and I went to get a duplicate from the state where I was born. So I look at that recently. It doesn't list my parents' names, either of them. So are you telling me my birth certificate is no good, that I paid money for, and that the state sent me and it has the seal, but it's no good? How would I remedy that? What would I do? Call the state and say they're doing it wrong? Oh my gosh.
And who knows how many that this situation affects. Are there any other specifics in the SAVE Act that you think people should be aware of in between those lines or just outright?
Well, I mentioned the poll tax. The Supreme Court ruled the poll taxes in all elections are illegal. They are unconstitutional. That was in 1966. And the 24th Amendment outlaws poll taxes. It's very hard to argue that the SAVE Act isn't a poll tax when it absolutely costs money for people to get these documents. Think of all the people burnt out in California. Think of the people flooded in Asheville. How are they going to get these documents without paying money? They're not. Poll tax, years ago in the Jim Crow South was you have to pay money to vote. Well, this is a de facto poll tax. You have to pay money to get these documents so that you can vote because you moved down the street.
And this has never been the standard.
No.
This has never been necessary and for years and years and years.
No. And I think the possible criminal penalties against election officials is dastardly. I mean, they're already under so much pressure. And it would just wreak havoc.
I could only imagine having all those people then at the clerk's office that should probably just be out voting. Then they're hung up in line.
That's right.
It does. It sounds like a nightmare.
So it's an unfunded mandate. They're not giving the clerk any more money to do all this, to hire more people to go through these processes. And they would have to interpret some of the processes to put them in action.
And Jane, can you tell us who can join the League of Women Voters? Is it just women, or who's allowed to join?
Anyone of any gender can join the League if they are 16 years or older, and we welcome them. We have quite a few male members in our league, and they're heavy contributors, and we appreciate them.
So join the League of Women. For those who are listening who they care about voting rights and they care about civic participation, how can they get involved with the League, especially ahead of 2026?
Well, it's easy to join. You can go to our website and click the Join button, and by doing so, you will join all three of the U.S. League, the Illinois League, and the Champaign County League. And after that, there are lots of ways to get involved. There's a sign-up genius for voter registration. You can simply attend events like our monthly Keeping It Locals or our monthly In the Know programs. What else?
You can just show up at the table at Market at the Square and tell us that you're interested, and we take names and phone numbers and hand those off to the local league people to follow up.
Perfect. So you'll be at Market at the Square next Saturday. What is another coming up event that you guys might be having in the area or somewhere where we can see you?
Okay. Well, we will be at Market at the Square once a month, actually starting in June, and then twice a month starting in September. And we have all kinds of information about voting and voting rights and voting education. And you can tell us you're interested in volunteering or joining, and we would, again, take that information. There's an event on June 28th in King Park in Urbana, the MLK Jetty Rose Neighborhood Celebration, and it's an annual neighborhood festival, and we will be there. And there are other events as they come up over the summer. You can find out on our website, lwvchampaigncounty.org, and click on, for that information, news and events, and then click on the event calendar, and that'll have all the league events coming up.
Thank you so much.
I want to point out that much of what Carol has been talking about would disappear with the SAVE Act. You couldn't go to farmers markets. You couldn't go to libraries. You have to go to the clerk, and you have to have your documents.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So this help wouldn't be there.
The other thing to mention is, people listening might say, well, but you have to be a citizen. Yeah, the clerks know this. The state election authorities know this. They've known this for forever.
Well, I appreciate both of you, Jane and Carol, joining us today from the League of Women Voters of Champaign County. Remember, to learn more, if you want to volunteer, become a member, or get trusted election information and just tons of resources through social media, their YouTube, visit their website, lwvchampaigncounty.org. Before we head out today, Carol, Jane, is there anything else that you would like to share or encourage to listeners?
A lot of people could vote, but they don't. They could register, but they don't. We encourage every citizen who is eligible to vote to register and vote. Your voice matters. There are a lot of close elections where your voice would have mattered. Just never assume that your voice doesn't matter.
And to back that up, the statistics for the 2024 presidential election in Champaign County, 66% of registered voters voted. So there's
plenty of room for
plenty of room. And actually, we did better than the United States statistics, which were 64%.
Wow.
So go Champaign County.
Keep voting.
Keep voting.
Everybody get out there.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on Focus.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on another edition of Focus. If you have any questions or comments about this week's show, feel free to contact us. Write to News Director, 2603 West Bradley Avenue, Champaign, Illinois, 61821, or you can email news@IlliniRadio.com. Focus will return the same time next Sunday. Have a great week.